It's also a great honor to welcome Professor Tamás Krausz, who is an international renowned scholar of the Soviet and Russian history in the 20th century, with a special focus on left-wing intellectual history. His book entitled Reconstructing Lenin, the Intellectual Biography was awarded the Deutscher Memorial Prize in 2015. He has acted as a founding member of the journal Eszmélet, which in English means consciousness, in 1989, which ever since has provided a unique forum in Hungary to discuss left-wing theoretical issues. He has accomplished an impressive theoretical organizational work to keep the left-wing thought alive in Eastern Europe and in Hungary. He is the editor of a wide range of books in Russian and in Hungarian, and he has published extensively on issues related to the theory of socialism in English, Russian, and Hungarian. He has acted as professor and head of the Department of Eastern European History at Eötvös Loránd University of Budapest until his retirement, when he earned the title Professor Emeritus. Currently, he is also the head of the doctoral program of the department, where he has established a strong school of doctoral students.
Dear friends, comrades, we here in Eastern Europe, the old generation suffers from the English language imperialism for a long time. So it means that my English is not too sophisticated, and if I need, Attila and Esther will help me, but I will read a short text in 10 minutes, very short text, about the main questions for the discussion. But if I understand the function of this conversation for this small conference, it is very practical aim, not scientific discussion in 10 minutes, of course. So we can speak about socialism as a practical challenge for the local and global left. And this is very important because the anti-capitalist left in Eastern Europe, where we lived in the old state socialist system, is very weak, including Russia. I don't know how, but in Western Europe or in the United States, many Marxist thinkers, but as a movement, socialism is, it seems to me, dead. As a movement, as a people's movement, workers' movement, are very weak. So it is important to restore the adequate, credible, collective memory of state socialism for practical reasons. This is very important for practical reasons. In the light of its real history, we can see clearly that the past 30 years of neoliberal capitalism didn't bring a more human life for the low oppressed classes, but it rather triggered a cultural and social decline. This is very important because we have some theoreticians, anti-capitalist theoreticians they have a philosophy. We call this philosophy as philosophy of non-action, of nem cselekvés filozófiája. You could understand this, the philosophy of non-action?
Yes.
Very abstract philosophy and a total refusing of state socialist experience. But they do not have any practical concept what to do. And without history, we cannot make anything. If we don't understand the historical past, we cannot make anything in the future. This is a big historical experience from Marx, from Lenin, etc. This is the first problem. The present condition of the world and our region is the permanent structural crisis from István Mészáros, structural crisis for which there is no capitalist solution. Any other alternative means renewed crisis, violence, war, famine, etc. As we lately see it on the example of Ukraine. The basis of any work, theoretically, politically, organizationally, and culturally, should be to render ourselves conscious and audience of this with the sole solution, the objective of replacing the present order with socialism. There is no other alternative to capitalism than socialism. Nothing else has been invented in human history. No any other alternative. That's why we have to put this project in the political or practical agenda of the global left, because any other kind of anti-capitalist left is dead everywhere. In Eastern Europe, 100% is kaput. NATO left, I call them, you see. The leftism, the NATO, for these leftist people here in Hungary. Very ridiculous. The third as a problem. Socialism cannot be invented. It is a living history, and the path towards socialism proposes the clear formulation of the objectives. In 1989, only few people understood this new self-governing socialism. Today, it has more followers. The Eastern European specificities, it means the final aim is socialism, socialist self-governance, because on the capitalist level, we cannot say anything. We cannot change anything. We cannot do anything. This self-government as a concept, however, this system cannot be introduced because we are speaking of a whole historical process, but we should see the objectives. The local national conditions determine how we can work for the same. In our region, it is impossible to form a mass movement without a strong and radical critique of the old state socialism. It is fundamental to stress the emancipatory features of the socialist project. This is most important practical task. The concrete aim, the most important aim, is the multi-sectoral mixed economy, self-management, self-organization, and its productive, economical, and political structure, the common state. How to make it? This is the theoretical and practical question which we inherited from Lenin and Lukács and István Mészáros. So we cannot return to state socialism because the requirements of the economic, productive, and cultural emancipation doesn't enable exceed this historical form. The population doesn't support the restoration of the old regime. We have to understand it. The multi-sectoral mixed economy consists of a market sector, a state sector, a common or cooperative communal sector. Namely, nationalization is not statization, the expansion of the state, but it means socialist property under the control of the elected bodies of communities. The followers of Many writers considered themselves Marxists, would mix and match state and social property together, arm in arm, with the neoliberals and neoconservatives. Not to mention the false explanations that have come to the fore since the collapse of state socialism, the most typical and common of which is state socialism being called communism. The alternative, okay. So the most important in Eastern Europe, 100%. The most important question, the question of the why do not works defend. The followers of state socialism would ask, what will defend the workers from the capital and the state? In other words, why did not the workers defend the state socialism in 30 years ago? We had answer. We wrote about that 102 books and 1 million articles. This is a clear question, but we have to answer this question every time. The answer is the workers would themselves defend the communist state because they felt it to be theirs. The bureaucratic apparatuses, which are detached from society, stray from the path toward socialist self-governance, when their interests demand it, as we have seen in the history of our region. The socialist way of development is a possibility, a historical alternative, which alone is capable of liberating the world from the oppression of capital, but we can only do it with people who understand the lessons of the history of both capitalism and state socialism. Don't forget the main question. I repeat it. We have to split with the old heritage, which could not make difference between state and social ownership. This is the first and the last sentence. Thank you very much indeed.
I'm Michael Hudson. I'm appearing here for the International Manifesto Group. If you like this video and ones like it, please subscribe. For more information, go to the address on the screen.